Here is an impactful 10-minute text about a potential Israel-Iran war. The Israel-Iran conflict, a powder keg waiting to explode. The Israel-Iran conflict, though not a direct war yet, is one of the most dangerous and volatile geopolitical struggles of our time. Both nations stand at opposing ends of the Middle Eastern political and ideological spectrum, and their conflict is not just about territorial disputes, but also about religion, security, and power. Over the years, tensions have escalated, and today, the world is watching nervously as the situation grows more dire by the day. Roots of the conflict, ideology and power struggles. The roots of the Israel-Iran conflict lie in both historical and ideological factors. Following the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iran under Ayatollah Khomeini shifted dramatically from being a Western-aligned monarchy to a theocratic state, fiercely opposed to Israel's existence. Iran, now a leader of the Shia Muslim world, declared its support for Palestinian groups that fight for the establishment of a Palestinian state, something Israel fiercely opposes. Iran has openly stated its desire to see Israel's destruction and has supplied various militant groups, including Hezbollah and Hamas, with funding, weapons, and training. Israel, for its part, has long viewed Iran as a major threat. The rise of Iran as a regional power with its nuclear ambitions and support for proxy groups is seen as an existential threat to Israel's security. Israel's geographic location, surrounded by a number of hostile Arab nations and now facing the rise of a powerful Iran, has shaped its military and diplomatic policies for decades. The potential of a nuclear-armed Iran in particular has made Israel take drastic measures to prevent such an outcome, even if it means taking unilateral military action. The nuclear threat, a game-changer. Iran's nuclear program is at the heart of the tension. Tehran insists that its nuclear ambitions are peaceful, aimed solely at energy production. However, Israel and many Western countries fear that Iran is developing nuclear weapons under the guise of civilian energy projects. In 2015, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA), known as the Iran Nuclear Deal, was signed between Iran and 6 world powers, including the U.S. The deal placed restrictions on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of sanctions. However, the U.S. withdrawal from the deal in 2018 under President Donald Trump marked a dramatic turning point. With the reimposition of U.S. sanctions, Iran began to step back from its commitments, and tensions escalated further. Israel has been adamant that Iran must never be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons and has repeatedly hinted at military action if diplomacy fails to prevent Iran from crossing the nuclear threshold. Proxy wars and regional influence. Beyond the direct conflict between Israel and Iran, the two countries have fought through proxy wars across the Middle East. Iran's support for groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and various militias in Syria has placed Israel in a constant state of readiness. Israel regularly conducts airstrikes on weapons convoys and military installations linked to Iranian-backed forces in Syria, aiming to prevent Iran from establishing a direct military presence on its northern border. Iran's strategy, in turn, involves using proxy forces to counterbalance Israel's military superiority without engaging in direct confrontation. This has led to a series of skirmishes, espionage, and cyber attacks, creating a dangerous and unpredictable environment. The shadow war, though not formally declared, could easily spill over into a direct confrontation if a significant misstep occurs. Cyber warfare, a new front. As if the regional arms races and proxy battles weren't enough, cyber warfare has emerged as a new front in the Israel-Iran conflict. Both nations have increasingly relied on cyber attacks as a tool of warfare, targeting critical infrastructure, military systems, and economic targets. Israel has reportedly launched cyber attacks on Iran's nuclear facilities, most notably the Stuxnet virus, which sabotaged Iran's uranium enrichment process in 2010. In response, Iran has developed a sophisticated cyber warfare capability, targeting Israeli infrastructure, banks, and military assets. The potential for a major cyber attack to trigger a wider conflict is high, as the consequences of such an attack could be devastating for both nations. the risk of a direct war. Though a direct war between Israel and Iran has not yet occurred, the risk of it breaking out is ever present. Israel's security doctrine is based on the principle of preemption. If Israel believes that Iran is on the verge of acquiring nuclear weapons, it is widely expected that Israel would take military action to destroy Iran's nuclear facilities, even if it means starting a full-scale war. On the other hand, Iran has repeatedly stated that it is ready to defend itself and retaliate against any Israeli attack. The potential for this conflict to spread beyond the two nations is immense. Hezbollah, Hamas, and other Iranian-backed forces could attack Israeli cities, while Israel might retaliate by targeting Iranian assets across the region. The involvement of the United States is another crucial factor. Israel is a close ally of the U.S., and while the U.S. has been hesitant to engage directly in military conflict with Iran, a war between Israel and Iran could force the U.S. to choose sides. Moreover, the broader Arab world, with nations like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, has been quietly aligning with Israel against Iran, though many of these countries have yet to fully embrace Israel publicly due to concerns over their own domestic populations. The humanitarian impact of full-scale war between Israel and Iran would have devastating consequences, not just for the two countries, but for the entire Middle East. The humanitarian toll would be catastrophic, with millions of people at risk of displacement, injury, and death. A war of such magnitude would destabilize the region, further entrenching sectarian divisions and escalating existing conflicts. Moreover, the global economy would also feel the effects. Both Israel and Iran are key players in the energy market, and any significant disruption in the region's oil exports would have repercussions around the world. A dangerous stalemate. What lies ahead? The Israel-Iran conflict is a volatile powder keg with no clear resolution in sight. The geopolitical landscape is constantly shifting, and the balance of power in the region is increasingly fragile. While the threat of a full-scale war is not inevitable, the ongoing tensions, proxy wars, and military escalation suggest that the potential for conflict remains high. At the heart of this struggle is a complex web of political, religious, and security concerns, each with its own set of historical grievances. The world watches nervously, hoping for diplomacy to prevail, but knowing that the slightest spark could set off a devastating chain reaction. The Israel-Iran conflict is a reminder of the fragility of peace in the Middle East and the high stakes of global security. Whether the region can avoid all-out war depends on the decisions of a few key players and the ability to find a path toward de-escalation before it's too late. This text provides a detailed overview of the Israel-Iran conflict, touching on its origins, the nuclear issue, proxy warfare.